Sam was in his vacuum-shielded suit walking the new outer rings, checking for weak points. His tool tray floated behind him. Orbit had modified box spiders walking the outside, scanning inwards, while Sam scanned from the inside out. He had a modified sensor box walking beside him, shining lasers over the walls. Every few feet he would take his hammer and ping the wall, sending out a vibration for the box spiders extrapolate data from. They picked up a stress point and began cutting. They pulled out the offending square and started chewing it up. They passed the molten metal between themselves, realigning the alloy into a proper crystalline structure. The box spiders then took the spittle and began spreading it across the open hole. They manipulated the molten alloy as it cooled, kneading it and smoothing it. Sam watched the stars beyond them slowly disappear as the hole shrank. "Orbit?" "Yes, sir." "This was a good idea. I needed to fix something." "I know, sir." Sam watched as the hole sealed up. "This is the fourth inconsistency we found. Makes me wonder about the rest of the station. I will have a team of custodians incorporate this into their maintenance procedures." Sam nodded and started walking again. He tapped a wall, sending a ring out for the box spiders to analyze. "That would be smart. I want this place to hold together." "Sir, I have found someone aboard that I would like you to talk with." "Yeah, who is that?" Orbit sent a file to his arm display. A holographic rendering of a human floated above Sam's arm. "That is Alexander Pody, sir. He's retired drop force. More accurately, he was a frontline mental health advocate." Sam stopped. "You want me to talk to a shrink?" "A retired one, but yes, I would like that for you, sir." Sam looked at the man's image, thinking, "He any good?" "Sir, he volunteered to come here. He left the rest of humanity because he knew the people who came here were going to suffer, and he wanted to help. Those are his words from his video logs." "Still? He any good?" "Admiral Frith gave him good reviews. He has a running log of 4.8 stars. Sam walked another 10 feet through the empty hall and hit the wall. "How long you think before the Posar returns?" "You're agreeing to meet him?" Orbit asked. "Yeah, you're probably right. I could use it." "That is mature of you to admit, sir. Not many would recognize the need nor embrace it. You do not have to wait for the Posar to return, though. He has set up shop on station." Sam let the ping hammer clank against the wall again. "Oh? What section?" "He acquired a loan from Guachuk and paid us to build him an office conjoined to the Scribbler Legal Building. He has been seeing patients for several months now. He even got approved by the unions to treat non-humans and is covered by the union agreements." "Set me up an appointment then." "Doing so now, sir." Sam walked down the arm to the Scribbler offices. He entered their main lobby and looked down. He was as a giant, looking down at a busy plaza. Scribblers filled the floor. Some stood in clusters discussing things. Others scurried back and forth with scratching utensils. Sam looked around the large room. The walls shimmered with a metallic oily sheen, and gold writings and diagrams covered them. He crossed the busy room gingerly, avoiding stepping on anyone. He reached the reception desk, and a tray holding a console and a sitting scribbler floated up to his eye level. "Hello, Sam. Are you here for your appointment?" Sam nodded. "Yes, I'm here to see Pody." "I know, I already had your appointment pulled up." The scribbler stared at him. "That is how I knew you were here for your appointment." "All right. Can I go see him?" The scribbler blinked slowly. "No, he is not ready yet. He is with another patient. There is a waiting room down the hall to your right. Adequate seating for your size is available there. He will get you when he is ready." Sam rolled his eyes and walked down the hallway. He found the room and took a seat. The room was quiet. A dim yellow lamp illuminated the corner. Sam had worn himself out walking the portion of the outer ring. He leaned his head back against the wall, his eyes drooping. "Sam?" Sam woke up, looked around the waiting room and focused on the man from the hologram. "Dr. Pody, hey." Sam got up and shook the man's hand. "Thank you for seeing me." Alexander smiled. "No, the pleasure is mine. You're the local celebrity here." He motioned for Sam to follow. "Come on, my office is this way." He led Sam down a short hall and through a wooden door. Sam looked at the door, running his hand along it as he entered. "Wow, you bring this on the Posar?" Alexander chuckled. No. But one of my clients brought his grandfather's pipe with him, olive wood. He sold a sample of the DNA to the preservers. They paid quite a lot for it, and one of the stipulations were that my client would active growth samples." Alexander pointed at the door. "First thing I did after my rent was paid up was to purchase that door. It was his first sale, and he got an operation started on Sparrow already." Sam sat down on the firm couch. "You're not worried about revealing too much, huh? Doctor-client privileges?" Dr. Pody shrugged. "My ethics bother you." Sam looked at him for a second. Not a good way to start. Alexander relaxed into his seat. "Look, Sam, I'm retired. I'm old. I'm doing this to help anyone who comes through that door. I like the door. You were interested in it. I told you the history of said door. I find no fault in it. Hell, maybe you might start buying up the guy's olive oil out of curiosity and helping the guy launch a business. Maybe, just maybe, that was my way of helping you network and build a new relationship." Sam leaned back. "Doubtful. Sounds like you just like to talk." Alexander smiled. Sam stared at him. "So what now? You tell me. Why are you here?" Sam looked around the sparse office. "My AI recommended it." Odd thing for an AI to recommend. They usually let humans human on their own, don't they?" Sam nodded and looked back at Dr. Pody. "That's true. Orbit usually just lets me keep screwing up. I think he gets a kind of pleasure from it. So, what do you think motivated Orbit to get you in here with me? Or more importantly, why did you agree to it?" Sam looked down at his feet. "Probably my drinking. I drink quite a bit. Many people drink a lot. Do you think you are the point where it is a problem?" Sam nodded. "I've lost quite a few days. Missed meetings. The aliens didn't know or care. They just chalked it up to me being human, but I know." "How do you feel about it?" Alexander asked. "I feel, Sam thought for a moment. "I feel wasted. I feel hell, I've felt this way for a long time. I feel like there isn't a point. It's just, I don't. Tell me." Alexander waited. "I feel meaningless. It feels like the universe is just a bunch of stupid, chaotic bullshit. I'm stuck out here. Now you're stuck out here. There's no going home. Did you want to go home?" Sam shook his head. "Don't really have one. Never did." "Why didn't you have a home?" Sam sighed. "Moved around a lot as a kid. Didn't form a lot of attachments." Alexander nodded. "I've read your military files. Hell, most of us have. You've been a loner. You are good at what you do and have helped out during several battles. But it was noted by several of your superiors that you are quiet and don't really socialize with your compatriots." Sam thought for a moment and laughed. "I can see that. Do you think that is a good thing?" "Dunno. I like being quiet. I don't like feeling like I always have to talk. That abnormal?" Dr. Pody shook his head. "Everyone has different levels of socializing that they need. Everyone has a minimum and maximum. When we hit our minimum, we feel depressed, sad, and need to be around people. When we are at our maximum, we get anxious, overwhelmed, and need to retreat to solitude. You seem to have a lower maximum tolerance." Alexander looked at Sam for a moment. "But I do have a minimum." Alexander nodded. "When do you drink more?" Sam sighed. "When I'm alone." "Have you been alone lately?" Sam nodded. "Yes, my girlfriend. She got the captain position of the Brumus. I've been going pretty heavy since she left." "That's good you found a companion. What do you think you can do to occupy yourself until she returns?" "I like jogging, but that doesn't stop the drinking. Today, fixing stuff. I'm pretty tired, and I think I could fall asleep without having anything." "Do you think you could work on fixing things more? Would that help?" Sam thought for a moment. Crunch owns the repair docks. He would let me help fix ships if I asked. "Is that something you would want to do?" "I don't know." Sam thought for a moment. "I don't know what I really want to do." Alexander smiled. "That's a good start." Sam looked at him. "How so?" "What do you want to do? That is the question. Now you just have to experiment until you find out the answer. Sam laughed. Okay. Dr. Pody looked at him seriously. You have all the opportunities you could imagine here. Not many people get a dedicated AI. Replicating robots are illegal in the HFY. Yet you have some, and you can make whatever you wish. People are here because of you. You have people who will listen if you decide to do, well, anything. Your actions, whether chosen or by accident, have rippled out. You have creatures operating on your whims. Now imagine if you got better control of yourself and focused on something. What could you accomplish? Sam shrugged. What am I supposed to accomplish? No idea. Whatever you want. That's what I'm telling you. Sam relaxed on the couch, thinking. I have some ideas. I've got a few things going. Like, I've had nightmares. Sam looked at Alexander. I thought they were just stress-induced, but they're not. There's something, I don't know, malevolent out here. This something. What do you think it is? Sam shrugged. The aliens called it an Aralang. It takes lots of forms in my dreams. Villains, monsters, you know. Like what? The aliens know of it? Sam nodded. The hagfish know of it. So do the great arm races. Something old out here. I don't know what it is, but it is the reason I have got an archaeology team doing research. I'm trying to find answers. Pody nodded. Outward evidence outside of the dreams themselves. Curious. Well, while the team is doing research, have you thought about doing your own? What do you mean? You ever lucid dream? Sam shook his head. No. What is that? Alexander pulled up a file on his arm and threw it over to Sam's display. Read through these books. With practice, you may be able to access your dreams better. Maybe communicate with this Aralang. Sam looked over the books. Think that is safe? Alexander stared at him. Death is on the other side of that wall. What is safe? Truthfully, it's an experiment. You're interested in it. Anything at all that holds your interest can help you find meaning. And that will help you on more levels than anything I know to do. Sam stood up. Okay, I'll read through these. I'm tired anyway. Maybe it will put me to sleep. Alexander stood up and shook his hand. Quicker than a nightcap. Sam laughed. We'll see. Sam was reading the red book by Carl Jung when Orbit appeared in his room. Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. Sam sat up straight. What is it? The Raga and the Grendel. They have gone AWOL. Raga accessed Spitz-Little's classified files. We think they went to attack the Gallic fleet. From our embedded agents, that fleet is massive. That's suicide to go alone. Holy shit. They're poking the goddamn bear. Yes, sir. They most likely are. Sam got up and started getting dressed. Reach out. Get everyone on board. Level 5 threat. See if you can make contact with the agents and get us up-to-date intel on the situation. Understood. On it now, sir. Sam left his quarters and started down the hall toward the Senate chambers. Callie stood under the bright lab lights, studying the sterilized item on the table. She focused her goggles so she could see the striations in the point. Incredible. She manipulated the item, turning it over. Grape juice, the juvenile female preserver, entered the lab. She cantered over to Callie's side. That one of the arrows pulled from Curator. Callie jumped and lifted her goggles off her eyes. Oh, hey, yeah. This thing pierced her mesh alloy chest. Callie lifted the arrow up, looking at the tip. It's silica with steel embedded in it. It's not delicate at all. Callie lifted the arrow up and struck the edge of the table. It cut a gouge in it. Sharp as obsidian, strong as alloyed steel. Callie set it back on the table and pulled a scope over it. Check this out. Grape juice focused one of her 3 eyes on the screen. The other 2 were twisted and still looking at the arrow. Callie highlighted the striations in it. See here. Grape juice turned all her eyes on the image. Yes, those are growth rings. That tip was grown. Callie turned and looked at her. Exactly. I think it's actually a tooth from something. She looked at the preserver's stance. You in the air managed to work up a vaccine yet? Grape juice lowered into herself. No, I don't know if we will be able to. There are too many viral agents in the air, and the viruses aren't even the scary part. The preserver pulled over a stool and lowered her body onto it. I analyzed the soil samples Curator took last week. The ground it's riddled with highly aggressive and invasive organisms. Everything on this planet is actively wanting to eat everything else. Grape juice typed on her chest device. A hologram rendering of one of the native sapients floated between them. I had Curator pull DNA samplings off the arrow before it was sterilized. This is the creature as it would be, purely natural. Callie looked it over. It had 2 strong hind legs, hinged opposite as a human's. On the rear portion was a long, bony prehensile tail. Its upper body protruded forward with a thick breastplate. It had long arms that split into 2 large claws. In between each claw was a set of 12 small manipulator digits. The head of the creature resembled a hairless canine, except it lacked eyes and instead had ridges of tissue facing forward. Ugly. Are they really as smart as the scribblers were saying? Grape Juice bobbed her head forward in human fashion. Probably more so. The simulation I ran has them at least to a human level of intelligence. She changed the hologram. That is just the start. Look here. The hologram shifted and was now covered in bone spurs and plates. 3 large worms writhed on its back. This is rendered from the images Curator took in battle. See those tendrils on its back? Callie nodded. Those match DNA sample renderings I made from soil samples. I think they actively infect themselves with parasites to gain some sort of advantage. Watch this. She changed her hologram again, this time to show Curator and 3 knights battling 4 of the native creatures. One of the creatures spun and lunged with a spear. Curator parried with her blade, the rain stuttering the energy field on it. The creature spun again, this time closer, allowing the worms on its back to strike out with their pincered mouths. Curator punched and crushed one of the worms. The playback ended. Grape Juice stared at Callie. This is the more stable side of the planet, Callie sighed. It's a horror show. The air, the water, everything is biological toxic. Your naming of the planet is apt. Vitalia. Yeah, I had no idea how alive this planet is, Callie said. Grape Juice stood back up, bobbing her body. I do have good news. Callie smiled at her. Throw it at me. I know why the Gallic leave the planet alone. The pathogens? Callie guessed. Well, yes, I guess it's obvious. Callie shrugged. You proved it, though? Grape Juice bobbed. Yes, I cloned some of Perry's flesh and put it in a test box. Curator took it out on her last mission. I already have readings, and numerous microbes are already devouring it. Wait, was it a live sample? Like it was alive? Of course. One of our mission parameters was to answer the question of why the Gallic leave these worlds alone. It was the best method. Callie stood up. What if the planet wasn't immune? What if that parasite got loose and took over the planet or something? The air ate it. Grape Juice straightened herself. What is the issue? I do not understand your facial expression of hostility. Look, do not expose life forms to living Gallic parasites. Ever. Note that and tell your fellow preservers, for fuck's sake. Callie paced a bit. I'm starting to understand Sam's logs a bit more. Grape Juice typed on her chest multifunctional device. Noted. I will send it to the Brumus to relay back to Twain. I think the preserver will like our findings. I expect to get a repository of my own when we return. Callie motioned for her to exit. Go send it. Let me know if you find anything else interesting. Yes, ma'am, Grape Juice said, and cantered out the door. Callie walked over to her lab window looking out across the valley. The rain drizzled down the window, and the weapons turrets slowly rotated on their pedestals. She picked up her warm cup of tea and watched the rivulets of living death roll down the thick glass. Curator came through on the outpost comm. Incoming biohazard. Need medical suite atmosphered up. Grape Juice answered. What is situation? Air and I are hurrying there. It's one of the scribblers. He had a hull breach, spear to the torso. He's been exposed, having trouble breathing. He's turning a deeper blue than normal. Grape Juice spun into the observation area and powered up the medically sealed room on the other side of the glass wall. Room is powering on. How far out are you? We are coming up the pass now. We should be there in 10 minutes. Curator hacked the war rig and took over piloting for the now unconscious knight. The other watched behind, ready for another attack. She maneuvered the suit into the docking port on the outside of the outpost. Human gunners manned the turrets over the path, watching them approach. Curator walked up beside the war rig and watched as several of her box spiders maneuvered into the suit and gingerly removed the ailing scribbler. She shut her eye and watched as they carried the creature to the medical bed. The heir, fully suited in a self-contained hazmat vacuum rig, entered from the sterilization lock. It knelt down next to the tiny soldier and began scanning. Numerous biologicals. His earlobes are filling with a rapidly expanding fungal protrusion. The heir took a filament from its tool belt and inserted it down the scribbler's airway. It looked through the scanner and saw when it hooked onto the hardening fungus. The air tugged, and large portion came free. It opened up the scanner and inserted the fungus into a chamber. Analyzing now. The scribbler took a breath, having a large chunk of one of the invaders removed. Grape juice was outside and quickly began analyzing the life form. Get a blood sample from him. I'll start working up some retros. I have this species documented. We should be able to knock it out quickly, but we need to know what else is in his system. The heir motioned with its 3 fingers, giving the human OK cookie. The brown and tan preserver came into the overlooking lab. I hurried as fast as I could. What does he have growing in him? Grape juice busily worked on the retros to counter the parasites and viruses with 2 of her hands. The other hand and its paired eye looked at the male preserver. So far 100 foreign species and counting. Cookie bobbed. Time to put our thoughts into practice. He clicked on his chest device. All preservers log in. We have an active. Need help coding. Curator stood outside watching through the outpost's numerous cameras. Concern crept through her processors. Her left hand touched her stomach, tracing the now healed line where the native Vatalians pierced her. Callie spoke to her over the comm. Situation? He took a spear. The doctors are treating him now. And you? What happened? We were ambushed. They set a trap. Curator replied. What kind of trap? I think they have been watching us. Curator turned, looking down toward the valley below. They dug a pit in the peat. They had a small creature down in it, one I hadn't seen. When I tried to get a sample from it, they attacked. Then it could have been worse then. Olivia joined the comm channel. Brumus to Vitalia outpost. This is Kali. Go ahead, Captain. I just got word. What is your situation? Curator replied. Under control now. I am watching the air. They just administered first dose of retros. Is he going to live? Olivia asked. I'm surprised he still is, Curator said. Well, I have more bad news. What is it? Callie asked. Olivia continued. We just got a message through the beacon from Twain. The Gree have launched an attack on the Gallic Armada. Retaliatory fleets are expected. The Brumus is recalled to Sparrow. The Pozar is already en route to Twain. All right, Callie said. We can be ready within a few hours. Wait, this quarantine situation, he can't go. We can't risk contamination. And I need a full detox, Curator said. Curator, give me some potentials. How can we get you all evacuated? Olivia asked. All? We can be ready to go in 4 hours, but only if we leave him to die. Everyone else could probably leave within the hour if I am left behind, Curator offered. I could stay with him, but even with my processing, I am not up to par with the air or the preservers. He would die. No, Callie interjected. We can hold here. They haven't killed all our box spiders. We can fortify, dig in, and operate under sheltering procedures. We should be safe, Olivia. Think on it, Callie. You have 30 minutes to come up with ideas. We plan on departing in 2 hours, Olivia said. Curator, we will need you to calculate the course and send it up to us. You're already planning on going without Curator. I'm not leaving her, or the night. Callie sighed, running her hands through her hair. Curator, send Olivia the codes. Get them en route as quickly as possible. Yes, ma'am, Curator said, and started her calculations. Callie paced in her lab, watching the camera feeds. The satellite in orbit witnessed the Brumus leaving them stranded on this hostile planet. The feed from the biohazard suite showed her the tiny face of Shatak Fet. She could see his labored breathing as he struggled to stay alive as his minuscule organs fought off the alien germs. Callie looked over at the top right camera feed. Curator was outside, standing in the rain, standing watch. Curator listened and watched with her dozen patrolling box spiders. She had a dozen more burrow into the mountain, refining ores and making more for her to put to use. One of them picked up motion. Then she felt it, a ripple through the earth. It wasn't a strike, but more a continuous thrum. She maneuvered 3 box spiders to get a geolocation point on the source. She got it, the eastern cliff. Curator spoke over the comms. We got something coming up the east side. Maneuvering eyes there now. Callie looked at the tooth-tipped arrow laying on the examination table. I don't want to be a Roanoke. She looked back at the cameras, watching the rain continue to stream down.